Dean would go and survey. Then the pressure was on him to price within so many days. In between that time, he'd be out fitting, maybe out surveying other jobs. He'd be in the office till 11 at night, tired, trying to price. So I found as operations that it was worth financially getting somebody in to price the job separately. Just that is their job, is pricing it. They can also have the time to compare companies that we use, because we want the best price. We want the best price for our customer. He built up really good relationships with our suppliers and fabricators because he's got the time to do it, and really good relationships with our customers. That is something we've outsourced, and it was absolutely worth every penny of outsourcing that.
Hello, so this is the Stronger Business Together podcast, where business owners learn from each other as they go along. No theory, no gurus, just real journeys and overcoming real hurdles. Today, I'm joined by Natalie Hamblett of Severnview Home Improvements, who runs a business just like every other owner, building something, fixing something and growing something that really matters. So, Natalie, welcome.
Hello, thank you very much. It's lovely to be here.
Most welcome. So, let's start at the beginning, Act 1. So, in plain English, what does your business do?
Okay, so it's Severnview Home Improvements. We install high-end, high-quality windows, doors, conservatories. We even go on to do fascia board and guttering, roof lights and warm roofs. We use UPVC or aluminium, and in some areas we use timber as well. The company's been going around about 3 years now, and I joined full-time about 4 months ago. So it's quite new to me. I run it. It's a family-run business, and I help run it with my husband, Dean, and it's going very well.
Brilliant. That's really good. Amazing 3 years, and we're doing stuff in the background first and now full-time in the business. Yeah, I love it. And what I like is your product range and the fact that you even do wood as well, because I know there are often people who would love to have double glazing wood replacement in their homes.
Yes.
So awesome. So tell me, who do you typically like working with, and what are they dealing with? What are they wanting?
Okay, it's quite exciting to do new things that are coming out. So the bifolds are getting thinner, more modern. Some people are having corner bifolds, which look amazing if the corner actually comes out into your garden. So you almost can make a garden room from the edge of your house. That looks really beautiful. Just streamlined products and modern products. We work with great builders that use these modern products, but they also put them in traditional homes, which make it look fabulous. Sometimes out in the Cotswolds, there'll be beautiful views where we can put balconies and the glass balustrades around the balconies, and it just takes off that view. It looks amazing. So yeah, we like to work with domestic and commercial, but some of these domestic homes are really beautiful to work in.
Fantastic. So it's more the sort of maybe high end at times, or is it a good mix of clients?
Absolutely a mix of clients. So we can do just the one window if somebody wanted a window because they've put their porch into, maybe extended it slightly and put it into a toilet. We'll put a small window in there and do a knock through. We can do some bays on the front of the house. It could be anything from that to the higher end properties, like I said, out in the Cotswolds or wherever, Stroud or Gloucestershire, right through to commercial flats that we're just getting a contract with at the moment. And also front doors for housing associations that need to be replaced. So it's a wide range of products and services.
Excellent. So how did the business start? What was that original spark or idea?
Okay, so my husband has been window fitting since he was around 16 years old, got taught by his uncle, and it's just gone from there, really. He's worked at different companies. He decided to go self-employed because he felt like some certain companies weren't really working as to how he would like to work with their customer service. So he decided to go self-employed after being a manager at a huge branded window company. He managed there for quite a few years and decided that self-employment was going to be better for him. He could see where there needed to be improvements in certain areas. So he went self-employed and he's just grown stronger and stronger from there. But that is the background and that's what he's always done.
Brilliant. Yes. Often we set up businesses around our key skill and knowledge and capability. So what does the business look like today in terms of size and shape?
Okay, so today at the moment we have Dean is the main surveyor within the company. So he'll be the one that goes out to see the customers. He's excellent with the customers and he'll be doing the measuring. We've got a fitting team that will do the fitting. At the moment, we also have Dean that does the occasional fitting as well. And at the moment, we are looking for an additional fitting team. So we are keeping our ears and eyes out there for another self-employed fitter. We also have a fitter's mate, which is somebody that's not fully qualified for the fitting, but can help with the trimming, cleaning up. We have a estimator who makes sure that Dean's surveys go into a quotation and it all runs very, very smoothly. And then I am head of operations. So I ensure that the customer journey from start to finish isn't too long, especially their pricing, because I think that's key. You should get a price really within 3 to 4 days, absolutely maximum, even if it's a complicated price. And what I mean by that is having to bring in other trades to rely on their prices to combine with yours, which can sometimes be a bit of a hurdle. If you're using good trades, they can be very busy. But we ensure, as an operations manager and the rest of the team, we ensure that this gets done quite quickly for the customer. Also, then I'm responsible for sending out their terms and conditions to make sure it's legally binding, safe for them, safe for us. Once that's done, we go on to collecting the deposit and then ordering. And again, as well as the estimator, I'll make sure that that customer is constantly in touch with to make sure they know every stage of their installation. Once the installation is completed and they're happy, then we would love a Google review. That's our main thing to help build our company, and making sure that everyone's working to their roles and making it as smooth as possible. My priority is the customer journey.
Brilliant. No, customer journey is such an important feature of any business, and understanding that and appreciating that is a delight to hear. So fantastic. Well done. So why do your customers pick you? You know, how do you delight them?
I think that the main thing is to make sure that we're showing them plenty of work that we've done previously. This all adds to the trust. I think that also gaining our Google reviews really adds to the trust as well, because people do buy from you if they know someone that's had a good job from you. I think it's human nature. If you trust the person that's had that job, you'll go with that person as well. And then when we've got literally someone from organic that has not come from anything, then it's a matter of talking to them on the phone. I think that's more important than anything. Hearing your voice. I do like to have a picture of myself on the bottom of my email so they can picture who they're speaking to. Also keeping them in the loop, understanding where they come from when they show you that they're nervous and they don't want any hard selling, because I don't like that either. Understanding that you are a trade coming into their home that our industry hasn't always had the best reputation. And we just like to be that little bit more hands-on and more personable to that customer.
Nice. Yes, I like that. That's a really important feature, that communication, that up to date, showing customers that you care is a really important thing. So tell us about a particular customer success that you're really proud of.
Yeah, not that long ago, we had a lady that she wanted a front door. I contacted her, and even though she put her number up on my builder, which told me she was open to contact, she was really, really nervous when I called, almost a little bit trying to avoid the phone call, saying, "No, I'll have to wait till my home." And that's absolutely fine. This happens. But I think within a few minutes, I put her at ease, because she then started to tell me what her concerns were. And it wasn't anything to do with the door. It was to do with the fact that she'd had tradespeople in. Her dogs are very loud and can be off-putting. She was worried about that. So I put her at ease. We've got 3 dogs. We're dog lovers, and she will not be disappointed when Dean comes to have a chat with her. And that's how I put it. I wanted it to be more personal. I said to her, make sure that to put your mind at ease, make sure your husband's home. When Dean got there, I think he was there an hour and a half. He was fussing the dogs, and that was it. She was sold. She rang me up and she said, I know I have to have 3 quotes. And I said, you're more than welcome to get 3 quotes. I would advise that you do, just to make sure we're in the margin of what you're expecting. I said, but if you're happy with us and you're happy with the quotes, which you've got your other 2, then, but she didn't even want to get another 2 quotes. She was very happy, and we had the most amazing Google review when we had finished the job. And you could tell her dogs were everything to her. He was at home full time. That was her world, and Dean was allowed inside the world, and he really did make her feel very comfortable. So, and that just goes to prove that maybe the most challenging of sales, because obviously we could see there was a lot of anxiety there, were the most rewarding at the end, and we got the best review. It was amazing.
Fantastic. Putting her at ease, enjoying the dogs. Fantastic. I love that.
Yeah, exactly.
Messing about with the dogs as well, making people feel
That was her world. So
absolutely.
you knew that was
Part
the
of
way
the journey.
in, you know? Yeah.
Yeah, being part of her journey.
Yeah.
While you're generating revenue from it and money, you're actually changing her world, and being part of that is an important part. Fantastic. I really love that. That's amazing. So you've mentioned it a few times now, finding leads. What's your largest way of finding the most leads for you?
Okay. So, I mean, really, it would be website. It would be getting organic through keywords on Google, getting our Google reviews. We're still working on that organic coming in. So our vision is to be locking up the office on a night time and coming back in the morning and having leads there, having inquiries. That's our vision. We get the occasional at the moment, and it's building. It's definitely building. But on the slower days, I will always have a look around, see what people are looking for, see if we can meet their need. And going through the figures as a business owner to other business owners on here, as long as that's making you a profit, those lead expenses, then there's no harm in that at all, because what you're doing is you may not be making so much because you're buying the leads, but you're also giving yourself exposure. Every single person that you work for talks. So that's the main thing. And that's how I look at it. And as long as we're still making profit out of it, even if it's smaller than what we would have made, it's worth it.
Yes. Fantastic. Yeah, no, I'd agree with that. You need to understand the long game, as well as just, maybe you're reducing your profit margin a bit on buying leads. But I love your description of that. They're people, and they'll talk to other people, and that's how your referral process then grows. Yeah.
And also,
really
if you were just going to do the one small window, you shouldn't look at it as, oh, that's just one small window. I don't think that's going to be very viable for us, because that could then turn into, right, I trusted you with my one small window. Now I want my house done.
Yeah.
To pay for a whole house to be done is a lot of money. That takes a lot of trust. And often people will measure you by having a small job done first.
Interesting. Yeah, fantastic. So, okay, so your business is growing. 3 years in, you've been there for a few months now, helping it grow, focusing on that. So, what are you both aiming for in the next 12 months for your business, and why?
Okay, so really, what I want to do is really concrete our roles. At the moment, when a business is small, you know what you've got to do, but you've all got to chip in, because you haven't got people concreted to that role, because you still got this role slightly empty. And over the next 12 months, I want to make sure, as operations manager, I've got my dedicated teams that I go to for the certain operations of the company. I do need a manager underneath me as well to also, I think one operation manager operating it all is almost impossible. I do think you need a set second pair of eyes as well, which definitely there's somebody in the company that could help with that. But really over the 12 months, gaining another team, because that's something we're going to need for the work that's now lined up for the next year, and concrete in those different parts of departments of the company, and making
Yeah.
sure that everyone's very clear of their roles and that each role is smooth aligning with the other, and that we're not all sort of doing things double or not doing things at all. So that's my
Brilliant. Oh, that's really good. That's some really deep thinking and some structures that you've put into your plan that will
Mhm.
aid your business growth that you want to achieve. Really good. Love that. So let's move on to Act Two, the journey of the
Yes.
business. So over the last 3 years and the time that you've also been in the business, businesses have highs and lows, and we learn from those. Sometimes we do,
Mhm.
sometimes we don't. What have been the highs and lows for you both, and what have you learned from them?
Really good, actually, example would be that when the business first started, we got a huge contract. I wasn't involved in the company then. And as a new business owner, you're not, um, you're not fully aware of that things can run out, especially when the boat is sailing very smoothly. And there was a huge contract that kept Severnview very busy for at least 18 months, and set us up as a company without a doubt. And then that particular company then had to, once they do one contract, they have to then reset, get ready for another one to come out. And we were kind of, now where do we go? And we'd already bought things that we needed to then pay for daily. And, the pressure started to come on because that particular contractor had gone quiet for a while. And we had to then pull ourselves together and start to look for work, for contractors. And we kept our head. I'm very proud that we kept our head above water, considering that it was a quiet time year. And obviously we were so used to having this injection of money, and we made quite good profit on that. All I can say is the likes of my builder wasn't the only income, but it definitely kept us afloat
Yeah.
while we built our organic, which we're still building now. Then you start to see contractors coming back up because of time of year. And now that's all flowing back together ready for summer. So now we are prepared from that these sort of things, either we gain more contractors, which I've made it quite clear in certain networking groups that I'm in, that we're interested in that, because I know we don't want to be back where it was there. And I'm just proud of where Severnview have gone, considering we didn't go from a very quiet company to building up slowly. He opened and he had a massive contract to then go in quiet. So I'm very
Yeah.
proud that we managed to keep our head above water with that.
Brilliant. No, that's a fantastic start for a business right at the very
Mm.
beginning to have that injection of growth and cash and for pulled in that. But then well done you on recovering when that dried up. That
Yes.
putting all our eggs in one basket type situation that can
Mm.
happen. Definitely. So what have you done since? So you've tried to get more organic growth. What have you
Yep.
done since? Because that's quite a hard decision when the money dries up. It becomes
Mhm.
tough. You've got to make some hard choices. What did you learn about yourselves making those hard choices, and what have you done since?
So we've been lucky in the respect of we haven't had to lose anyone, because that's what can happen um, when things go quiet. And if you have to lay people off, then you have to lay people off. That's a productive move if you want to stay in business. But we were very fortunate to not have to do that. So I was constantly seeking out. I wasn't in the business straight away. But then I started to get help to get our name out there. I started to do the sort of paid leads, I suppose you could say, which has now started to progress organic leads, and just following up every single inquiry, even if it was just someone in passing saying, so if I went to a family member, and they said, oh, my cousin's looking for so-and-so, or I would always ring that person and say, oh, did you say? They would look, oh, yeah, I did. And just following up on those leads, I was constantly on it. I still am. And I think that's what's important. You can never slow down on that. And if you start to get slow on that because other things are getting more important to operate, that's when you delegate down so someone can concentrate just on that bit, because that's
Yes.
important that constantly goes out.
Absolutely, yes. That constant lead generation is such an important task in businesses to
Yeah.
grow. Yeah, it depends
Yeah.
on what you want from your business, but growth, and you need that. But you also need that just to stand still because you've got all those salaries to pay and all the
Yeah.
overheads to cover as well. So,
Yeah.
so you talked about leads, you've talked about the recovery you did. So let's try and summarize this in this question. If you lost all your leads tomorrow, what
hmm
would you do in the next 30 days to rebuild?
Okay. So if we lost all our leads tomorrow, I would definitely go to have a look at paid leads. I would also leaflet drop. I think that leaflet drop is classed as an old fashioned way of doing things, but I know I still look at what comes through my door. It may not always sink in, but I do look. Social media, I do a constant social media, try and maybe even see what events are on that we can get more exposure. Looking round to customers that haven't given a Google review, going back to them and saying, are you still happy with what we did 4 months ago? Would you mind a Google review? Because then that will get maybe that organic back up. I just think there's always something you can do.
Mm.
And it surprises me. Every building, most buildings have windows, but there are builders out there who have their own window companies, and that's what I feel that's why it works well if we can work with those builders. That's what will work well. So I probably also try and contact builders, literally cold call and sort of say, are you happy with your window company? Is there anything we can do? So there's plenty you can do out there to get your name back out there.
Brilliant. I mean, that's fantastic. You've given a real big list of things you'd actually do, but they're all things that you have done. And that's the
Yes.
proof in the pudding. You know, you
Yeah.
find those things that really work and we keep doing them. And that's what we need to do. Have you changed anything that you sell over time as you've learned in the marketplace? Do you bring things in? Have you changed? What's happened with your range over the last 3 years?
I mean, with our range, we always are searching for fabricators that are going to give us a good price, because a fabricator can use the profile you like. They put the profile together, but if we can get it from them at a competitive rate, we can give it to our customers at a competitive rate. And that's what's important. Profile wise, there has been some change in profile just through to Dean using these profiles and knowing what's good quality and what isn't. And also when it comes to, I think, not being a window specialist at all, but looking at, the jobs we've done, the warm roofs are amazing. So with the conservatories, they will keep you warm in the winter and also cool you down in the summer. And I just think that it can almost be like an extension on the side of the house. There's so many people that have paid thousands for a conservatory and they find they can't use it properly because of the type of roof. So I know that Dean can completely transform a room from a hot conservatory to a nice, cozy, where you're feeling comfortable with the climate in there, like a snug. Put some sofas in. It's just amazing. So as a consumer, which is really what I would be, because I have no experience in fitting, I know that is one amazing project that is well worth every penny.
Brilliant. So what one thing have you sort of done, have you removed from the business or outsourced in the business that gives you energy back?
Okay. So pricing is a big thing. So what we would find is that Dean would go and survey. Then the pressure was on him to price within so many days. Again, he might have to outsource it to other people. In between that time, he'd be outfitting. maybe out surveying other jobs. He'd be in the office till 11 at night, tired, trying to price. So I found as operations that it was worth financially getting somebody in to price the job separately. Just that is their job, is pricing it. They can also have the time to compare companies that we use. So we use different because we want the best price. We want the best price for our customer. Also, that comes into fitting time, delivery time. And, if one company says to us, well, it's going to be eight weeks, another company says it can be up to 4, we can outweigh that. What's going to be better for that customer? So he's got that opportunity to spend that time. He built up really good relationships with our suppliers and fabricators because he's got the time to do it, and really good relationships with our customers. And he's very good at what he does. So that is something we've outsourced, and it was absolutely worth every penny of outsourcing that. Dean now goes to survey, literally puts the price over to our estimator, and it comes back to us within 24 to 48 hours. We then authorize it as directors, and then it goes out to the customer.
Brilliant. No, that's really good. And that's such an important thing that we find often. It's that frustrations in our current processes, or where the opportunity is to outsource or simplify or change what we're doing to make sure that that's not happening. So well done. I love that.
Yeah.
So let's move on to Act 3 now. Let's look at our hurdle that we talked about. Let's discuss. So what's the hurdle that you keep coming back to at the moment?
Okay, so at the moment, as part of our estimator's job, is to work out how long this job's going to take, because what we have to put in that is our overheads. It's very important that the company has the overheads covered, as we all know as company owners. And then on top of that, on top of your fitting fees, your overhead fees, your suppliers' fees, you then need to make a profit. If you don't make a profit, what are we here for? So what starts to happen is every fitter is different. Some are more organized than others, but they're good at what they do. So you got to weigh it out. How long is this job going to take? So Dean's a fitter. We've got other fitters, and Dean might say it'll take this many days. That might be slightly over. That's a good thing. Or he may say it's going to take this many days, and that fitter doesn't quite do it in that many days. Now, there could be a number of reasons for that. It can be because there's been an issue with something else that someone's done in the house. They might be having lots of work, and we had to wait for someone to finish something. It could be down to not having something on the van that should have been on there, which can be down to organisation, lack of communication, in my eyes. It can be down to the weather. We can't predict that, unfortunately. So what we've got to try and do is ensure that we have put enough days in without it costing too much for the client. We still want to become competitive. That's important, because then it's trust and recommend. So at the moment, that's our hurdle, to make sure that the jobs are being done in the time stated. Otherwise, once it goes over that day, the company having to pay those overheads.
Yeah. So the hurdle is really, sometimes your fitting time is taking longer than planned, therefore you're losing profit. All right, so in one simple sentence, what would better look like in the next quarter if you could fix this problem?
Okay, so first of all, I've had a good think about this. I think that the first stage is whoever is fitting that job knows about the days stated and ensures they get the spec, and they ensure that they can fit it in that time.
Okay.
That's the first thing. Once they commit and say, yeah, that should be enough days for me, that they've got to then do it in those days, because they've committed to doing it in those days. We could even have that in writing. I think also, as a fitter, we should have some sort of retention, which is something that, if you've got window companies that watch this, it's definitely something that has been done in other companies that Dean's dealt with, which then helps you if things are costing you extra because of unorganisation on fitting times.
Okay. Yeah.
I think then really the main thing is if you had 2 teams going out doing 2 jobs, your overheads get split twice. So then you still really seem competitive because your overheads only get taken out and it's only 1 overhead per day. But if you had
Yeah.
2, 3 teams, that would be split. It's really the pressure is on if you've got 1 job going on that day with 1 team and that whole overhead needs to be covered.
So growth will help you deal with some of those elements. Okay, but let's talk about what proportion, what percentage of jobs are taking longer than planned.
Probably 50, I would say at the moment. Not
Okay,
excessively longer. We're not talking, if it was a 5-day job, we're not talking another 4. We're talking if it's a
no,
5-day job, it's 5.5.
okay, yeah,
And it could be
okay,
down to just these niggly bits.
okay,
Could be down
brilliant.
to weather. It could be down to
Yep.
things that can't be controlled. But I would say 50-50 at the moment.
Okay, so we got about 50% of jobs that call them slightly run over due
Yes.
to what's happening. What would ideal be in the next quarter? What sort of percentage would be better for you as a business? 100% isn't going to work straight away.
Of
Maybe it
course
could,
not.
but
No.
what would be a better condition than 50%?
I would like in the first quarter to make it more like a 70-30,
Okay,
and then even build from that. Um,
yeah,
it like I said, we are an outside as well as
yeah,
inside company.
absolutely,
And any builders that are on here with bricklaying and they know it happens a lot.
yeah.
And that's
So
where
there's
we
always
lose.
going to be. So what you're saying is there's always going to be sort of at this moment in time, at least sort of 30% that is out of your control. Yeah,
Yes.
whether somebody else that you can't negotiate with because that's just the situation where we are.
Yes.
But there's still 20% that we could fix internally to make that better. Okay, so if we ignore all the external issues, what are the sort of, you've mentioned a lot of issues so far. What are the ones that you are causing, do you think, yourselves and the 20% what are those issues that
I
are
think it's
taking
lack of
place?
communication. I
Okay,
think it's the decision of one main fitter deciding how long it's going to take, but not actually being the one that fits.
right.
So our surveyor is the one that will say, yeah, that would take me so many days,
Yeah,
but he's not the one that fits it.
yeah.
But
Yeah. He's not there on the job
he's
dealing
not
with all
there
the
on the
little
job
nuances.
all the
Yeah,
time. So lack of communication. So that's why I think, especially when our teams start to build, they will
yeah,
get a structure of what they've got that week or what jobs are coming in.
yeah.
Even have a kind of not vote, but a kind of discussion with the fitters. How long do you think this would take?
But
It's an average. I mean, I don't think
I'm just
ChatGPT
interested.
is great
Yeah,
for
and I'm
everything.
interested in that.
Yeah,
I'm interested in that. The reason I'm interested in that is for this reason. Until you get on site, you don't physically know. All you've got is your experience. So you've got the experience of your surveyor
yeah.
doing the estimate, of Dean doing the estimate. Even if you then asked your fitters, it's an estimate. And it's all based on experience. So you could average the estimate, or actually when you measure the jobs and they go over, what do you do as a business then? What happens when something takes longer than planned? That is within your control. We have the situations we said, the builder changes something or the weather's doesn't
Mm.
work out or something. But there are things that happen within your control. What do you do as a business when that happens?
It depends on what reason it was. If it's simply because the fitter didn't take a piece of equipment from the locker and
Yeah,
then he didn't have time to go back, then he would be set to go back and finish that without any additional pay because that's it. That's his line of being. The problem we've got is he's not getting anything extra, like an extra day rate to go out there again following day,
yeah,
because
yeah.
he's on price. But the problem we got is that those overheads still have to go out.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. So
Yeah,
let's take that. Something was missed. We didn't put it in the van. We didn't organise it. So what would be causing somebody to miss something, not to take it on site that's important?
Well, it would be on this particular occasion, the van was a different van.
Okay.
So it needed to have the ladders put on there. So it was a ladder issue. And the ladders weren't on the van. But and that particular fitter, it wasn't his van, so he was in the pool van, the company van that everybody can use. So it was just a matter of those ladders not being put in the van before those particular fitters left, which is very
Mhm.
frustrating.
Yeah.
And then the
Yes, I
question
can
to me
definitely.
is, why didn't you go back and get them? You know?
Yes. Well, the real question is, why isn't there a set of ladders on the standard van? If every van needs ladders, shouldn't
Yeah.
every van have ladders?
So they should have been put back on there. They were taken off for a reason, and they were put in the lockup, and they should have been put back on there. But
Yeah.
almost
Yeah.
like if you go out to a medical emergency, you wouldn't miss
Mhm.
your defibrillator,
Absolutely. Yes.
So
Yeah.
you have to make sure before anybody goes out on a medical emergency or on a shift, they got to make sure everything is in their van. So I
And
look at
they
it,
don't rely on exactly. I love that example. But what they're
yeah,
not doing is they're not relying on the knowledge of the individual to remember because they're going out in an emergency. What
yeah,
do they use?
a
What do you
checklist,
think they use? A
a
checklist.
checklist.
Absolutely. Yes. So have you got checklists for standard equipment before you leave the yard?
Nope.
Okay. So this is where you get that growth through feedback. Well,
Mm-hmm.
rather than saying, oh dear, you've now got to go out there and run it yourself. We're not going to pay you, but we're still covering the overhead. I understand that. That's a learning opportunity to say, why did we go out without that on the roof? Why was that ladder there? Well, because we haven't got
Mm-hmm.
a checklist. Or if we did have a checklist, does the checklist actually say we need to do this? Now, what can happen is people can start going, checklists, I've got all this procedures that I've got to follow. So the checklist is important to describe why we have the checklist. So the top of the checklist is saying, we do this in order that when you get on site, you have everything you need so you can hit the standard time that we need you to do this within. So
Yeah.
then the checklist then follows of what we need to remember and do. We tick it off, we sign it, whatever we need to do for the checklist. But it's next time there's a problem in the van, I didn't have the crowbar. I don't know. I don't know what you need.
Yeah.
But yeah. So as a business, you then say, okay, we failed again, but we can control that. So now we add that to the checklist to make sure it's in place. And that's
Yes.
how you then build that learning into your checklists over time, and your checklists get better and better and better. And surgeries use them, as you say, when we're going out in
Mm-hmm.
emergency in the ambulances, they use them. Pilots use them. Pilots use them every single time. They use checklists all the time. They're trained to use checklists because
Yes.
there's so much to do and remember. We can't remember it all. So let's make it really easy for ourselves by using a checklist.
Yeah, it's definitely something that we can put forward. It's not going to be expensive to do,
Nope.
and it's going to be practical. So we'll put that forward. That's great. Thank you.
It's a real important element, and it's that continuous learning and feedback into the
Mm.
checklist, which will also help to take that forward. So, yeah. So
Thank
what
you.
one experiment could you do tomorrow then to start finding out whether this would work for you?
Wow, look at making a checklist. So what I can do tomorrow is speak to a dean and sort of go through scenarios of what things he thinks are needed. We can then put it in our business WhatsApp group. People can add to it, and we'll just make a checklist from there, really making sure that everyone's got everything on their van, ensuring that the van is organized. I've had feedback that one van is more organized than the other. So ensuring that both vans one is as organized as the other, and that particular fitter that's got a very organized van come in to help organize the other van. And then
Perfect.
once we do that, we know where everything is.
Absolutely. Standardizing systems is so important, especially in the physical world
Yeah.
of the organization of it, having two identical vans, building as a group an identical setup so we can easily spot when something is missing and doing. That's
Mm,
another really fantastic experiment.
yes.
Brilliant. So that's something we're going to go off and try and do. Now, with that in place, what do you think you'll see as success moving forward?
Well, hopefully, it's going to happen. We're going to get more organised in knowing exactly how many days are going to be manageable for the fitter, ensuring the fitter and the fitter's mate know where everything is, because the fitter's mate is somebody that can go to the van while the fitter is getting them, so they know exactly where everything is. That's going to save time. They're not looking, because, if some of the vans are unorganised, then it could be that's impacting on the time. Because if a fitter's mate is actually trying to go into the van and look for things, that takes time. And then make sure that we get this checklist up together and then see where it goes. It'd be interesting in a few months' time to see where those ratios are and whether they have got better.
And then just building that continuous feedback and learning, because as we said, there are some things you can impact, the 20%. There are things you maybe at this moment can't impact, the other 30%. But by focusing on that 20% and becoming excellent at everything you do, and when things go wrong, it's like saying, okay, it went wrong. What could we do? How do we improve the van setup? How do we improve the checklist setup to make sure we have everything we need before we turn up and we can be organised and efficient? And you talked about, being able to understand the time to fit. Sometimes fitting time takes longer because the physical environment didn't turn out to be what everybody thought it was going to be. And those are those moments when you come together. So Dean, your estimator, the fitter and yourself, and you all come together and discuss what happened, understand the difference in the environment, and then decide how you would build that into your estimation process or your surveying process, because the more you can build knowledge into that up front, the more accurate your post fitting time will be accurate to what you're doing. So building that structure within your business to build that reflection and review without incriminating, without pointing fingers, but learning and growing is another awesome thing that you can do.
Yeah, fabulous.
Brilliant. Okay, so let's do our wrap up and close now. So Natalie, what did you hear yourself today that maybe surprised you?
I think that, just being able to solve quite a big thing for us that's ongoing, and having a strategy in place ready to go straight away that's not going to cost too much, and it's just all about communication and organisation. So I'm actually really excited to get that up and running now and seeing where we go with it. So that was great. Thank you.
So finally, how can people get hold of you to follow more of your journey?
Right, so with Severnview, we are on the internet at www.severn-view.co.uk. That is Severn, like the river Severn. We're also on social media, Facebook, we're on Instagram and LinkedIn as well.
Brilliant. Well, Natalie, thank you so much for being open and honest with us today. I know our listeners will get an awful lot from this conversation. It's been fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Granger.
Thanks for spending your time with us today. We're on a mission to make business owners stronger together. If this conversation helped you, please comment and follow on whatever platform you're using. About 60% of our audience hasn't done that yet, and these small actions will help us reach more business owners just like you. If you want to join in the conversation as a guest, or if you have a hurdle question yourself that you'd like us to tackle, then reach out at info@strongerbusinesstogether.com. Now, go make this week really successful, and we'll see you at the next one. Cheers!